Okay. Marhaba, kulkum. Welcome to this DC Arabic Teachers Workshop titled DC Arabic Teachers Council Workshop titled Read, Learn, and Play, K through 16 Online Interactive Arabic Reading Materials. It's a free teacher-created resource, and our speakers are Sarab Al-Ani and Elizabeth Shovers. I'm Mimi Kirk. I'm with the Institute for Middle East Studies at George Washington University, where these workshops are hosted, and they're generously funded by Qatar Foundation International. And I'm just going to introduce our speakers very briefly, and we'll begin right away, particularly as I know we need to end today at 2 p.m. sharp. So Sarab Al-Ani is director of the Arabic program and a Senior Lector II in Arabic at Yale University. And Elizabeth Shovers is an independent consultant who designs and leads professional development services for world language teachers and develops, writes, and edits language and culture-focused curricula. So we're very lucky to have you both. Welcome, and you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mimi. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. So good to see you today. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. We are excited to be able to share with you about our project today. I'm just going to share my screen. Give me one moment. Everyone should be able to see that. Perfect. So as Mimi just said, my name is Liz Shovers, and I'm here today with Sarab Al-Ani, the Arabic Language Program Director at Yale University. And we're here to talk to you about a completely free resource for Arabic instructors. It can be used from elementary all the way to college level. And this project was funded by a federal education grant. It's part of a 3-year project, and we are in the final year of this project, and our goal is really just to get this resource in front of as many amazing, wonderful Arabic instructors such as yourselves. So whatever we share with you today, if you know other people who haven't heard of this resource, please share it with them afterwards. We want to get this in everybody's hands, and what we'll talk about a lot today is how this resource can really be used to fit your needs in your classroom. It's very adaptable. And since we're a nice small group, we're going to let me show you our agenda today. We're going to start with some theoretical background, then we're going to get into a bit of a description of the material, some of the cultural considerations that went in. And then the second part of this presentation, we really want you to get on the website itself and start exploring the resources so that when you leave today's presentation, you already have an idea of, here's how I can use this in my classroom. And because we're a small group, of course, if you have questions or as we're getting into those materials, things come up, please let us know. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sarab, who's just going to give us some of that theoretical background on the development of this project. And I'll be talking with all of you soon.
Thank you, Liz. Hello, everyone. It's an honor and a pleasure to share our project with Arabic language instructors. The more we can share, the happier we are. In a nutshell, what this project is basically an online interactive Arabic reading materials that provides original reading texts in the form of shareable ebooks along with virtual practice activities. Some of the theoretical background of the project, of course, as we started with this project, we're focusing a lot on reading. I don't feel like I need to say this, but as language instructors, we all know how important reading is in the process of language learning in terms of providing context, building vocabulary, developing comprehension skills. And that's why when we started this project, reading was our target. And of course, one of the basic and important things that we have to think about when thinking about reading is comprehensible input. And basically, comprehensible input is an essential tool that helps students learn language and continue learning language. And basically what it is that what they read or what they listen to is a language that they can understand, or they can understand the majority of it, even if they did not understand every single word that they read or heard. And comprehensible input is, of course, one of the bases of this program. For instance, this is an example of the books that are for the novice levels. As you can see, the sentence structure is very simple. It's the shortest possible sentence structure, and one word only changes between these three different pages, the 3 different sentences, and that word that changes is supported by visual. This way, we're building comprehensible input, making sure that the students can understand most of what they're reading or experiencing, if not all of it. In addition to comprehensible input, teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling is another basis that this project was based on. And basically, the idea of it is that when there is a book or a story, there is an interactive engagement with the book and the story. This in itself helps build and increase language. Hence, the books are built and created in a way, even in the lowest level, there is some sort of story that's being built. And the idea of building a story that the students and the teacher would be able to interact using it when they're practicing. Comprehensible input, of course, is great, but by itself, giving students language that they would understand is great, but in of itself is not enough. What is needed is for this comprehensible input to be used in a communicative framework. So the students should be able to do something with that language. They should be able to talk about it, answer questions, have some sort of conversation. And hence the communicative framework is another thing that we thought about when we created this project. So the interactive worksheets, the online worksheets, build on the stories, and they ask questions about the storyline in order to enable the students, as we said, to do something with the language that they just experienced. And this is true for all levels. So for the novice level, even though, as we said, the sentence structures are very simple and the students' vocabulary is increasing. However, when creating the worksheets, we've taken that into consideration. So for the next slide, we can see that the questions that we're asking the novice level takes into consideration that their knowledge and that their knowledge is increasing on the word basis. So we're taking that into consideration when we're creating the worksheets. Speaking of language level, the project introduces reading materials for the language levels, the ACTFL language levels for the novice, intermediate, and the advanced. And when these books are created, or when the worksheets are created, they're created based on can-do, the ACTFL can-do statements that is relevant to that level. So here you can see an example for the can-do statements for the novice, identifying words, identifying pictures, and the words that are related to them. And of course, along with the level, we're not just talking about the sentence structures and the language, but also the themes. So the themes and the subject areas are also related to the language level. For instance, in the novice, you can expect something like greetings and introductions, routine phrases, some books about the family, the world around me, likes and dislikes, and maybe beginning to talk about hobbies and activities. Same thing is true for the intermediate level, which is the examples that you can see in front of you. So the themes and the topics that are related to the intermediate level have to do, for instance, with planning a trip or visiting family for the Eid, or having a hobby and reading in the library. The themes themselves also match with the level. And even though it's not really an ACTFL level, but we added a reader helper, which is basically taking into consideration that Arabic has a script that's different from English. And at the beginning stage, students are actually learning to read, learning to decipher the writing. We decided to add a category for a reader helper. What it basically does, it helps the students, the learners, in that stage where they are still learning to decipher words. Electronic materials, of course, we decided when we created this project that it would be based electronically and shareable electronically for a number of advantages that I'm sure you're all aware of. Practicality and ease of use is definitely one of them. Availability and variety. It's sometimes preferred by the learners, especially the young learners who are very much used to using technology. It increases the students' student-centeredness and reduces teacher-centeredness, and of course reduces the affective filters. For those and many other reasons, we decided to make the project electronic-based. What do you expect to see in the project? First of all, you will be able to see books that you can, we will see later, you'll be able to download them or flip through them. In addition to that, for each book, you will be able to find an audio book as well, which is a great helper, especially at the beginning, for the students to be able to see the language and also hear it. In addition to that, there are the electronic worksheets that we created using WiserMe. And a little bit, we'll talk a little bit more details about WiserMe and the worksheets. A new addition to the projects are images that can readily be downloaded and used, and they contain questions targeting the information in the story. If you go to these images, and you will see that there is a variety of questions related to one story. The idea is not that the teacher would be using all of them, rather select what they think works best for their students. And of course, as you know, Arabic as a diglossic language, we have the modern standard, and we also have the regional variety. Because this project is focusing on reading, so the materials in which it's created is all in modern standard Arabic. There was a number of cultural considerations that we were thinking about when we first started creating the project. For instance, being able to visually pick characters that are representative of different people who could be part of the Arab world. In addition to that, take into consideration that the woman role is clear, and you can see in the books that the women hold various active roles. It's not just the mom, but it's also the teacher and the librarian. So these are some of the cultural considerations that we were thinking about when creating the project. In addition to that, some very specific cultural considerations to the Arabic, for instance, that the weekend is Friday and Saturday, which is also part of the story, which creates a very easy segue for the teacher to be able to introduce these cultural nuances. More cultural things, of course, relating to food and including foods that are very specific to the area. For instance, the book in which you can create the recipe for the dessert that is very well known in the Arab world, as well as the desserts that are commonly seen in different Arab countries when celebrating Eid. Speaking of Eid, the cultural nuances of having to dress something new on the first day of Eid, and also getting money from older grandparents as a form of gift is also introduced in these books. And last but not least, when we were thinking of creating the books for the advanced level, we tried to use Juha, which are the anecdotes that are well known in their world. When you look for these anecdotes in their original form, due to the fact that they are like centuries old, the language in which it is written, the authentic language in which it is written, might make it a little bit difficult to incorporate it in a modern standard Arabic classroom, especially if you take into consideration the age difference. So what we tried to do is to keep that cultural treasure, but introduce it in a language that makes it easy to use in today's classroom. In addition to that, diversity and inclusion, we made sure, in addition to trying to include characters that could be part of different parts of their world, but we also wanted to include different bodily abilities in these books. So taking all of that into consideration, the comprehensible input, teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling, the ACTFL levels, taking into consideration some cultural considerations, diversity and inclusion, writing these books in MSA, we took all these factors into consideration in creating the ebooks and the e-exercises.
All right, thanks so much, Sarab. Thank you for that background, and that's really helpful to set us up. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to talk a little bit about the work process, and then we're actually going to get into the material so that you can start to access them. But a piece of this project that we also thought was really important was ensuring that teachers could actually use these materials in their classrooms. So part of our process and the creation was we first came together with, our list of can-do statements, our topics, just like Sarab showed us at the beginning. From there, we created drafts of all of the materials. We then shared those drafts with our team of 3 initial reviewers. This included 2 instructors, high school and university level, as well as a colleague of Sarab's at Yale who focuses on ed tech. So they reviewed the materials, gave us feedback, and then we made any updates to them based off that feedback. Then we took that feedback and we sent this out to a team of teacher testers. So we've been working with a group of 8 different Arabic instructors across the country, working at elementary, middle, high school, university level, who took the materials, implemented them, first novice, then intermediate, then advanced, into their classrooms for a semester. Then we met with them to get their feedback, found out what worked, what was a little challenging, any suggestions they had. And then based off that, we made additional updates and we posted. That's what you actually see on the site. So all the materials you've seen, they have gone through quite a review process already. But with that said, we are always open to additional feedback. So I will show you where you can give us feedback as you get into them. And we know folks are always finding, a small edit here or there. So please do share those with us, but know that they have been well reviewed as well previous to going up on the site. So what I would love for us to do, excuse me, thank you, Sarab, is let's all get onto the site so that we can explore it. So you have 2 options. One is you can go on your computer to that link, or Sarab just put the link into the chat. I recommend you use your computer if possible. It's a little bit easier to follow, and the screenshots I'm going to be showing are right off the computer. But if that's not an option for you, you can also use your phone, and you can use the QR code that's on the screen right now. So you can just scan that and pull up the project. So I'm going to give everyone just like 20 seconds, pull up the site, and we're going to dig in. Okay, great. All right, so once you get on the site, what you should see is that at the top, you have the different types of materials that Sarab went through. We have specifically our novice, intermediate, and advanced materials. Just so that you can get familiar with how everything is set up, I would love for you to click on novice and see that drop down. So you're going to see the 5 different books that make up our novice catalog of materials. So click on that and then click on Where is Lulu so you can pull up the page for the Where is Lulu story. What you're going to notice at the top of this page is there's a short description in both English and Arabic. This is going to tell you a brief overview of what type of vocabulary and topics you're going to find in each book. And this can also be a great introductory way for you to introduce this book to your students by giving them that Arabic description, having them read it, get comfortable with it before they move into the books. For some of the novice, that might be a little bit harder because some of the language there, but especially with the intermediate books and others, you can definitely share those short descriptions with your students. Okay, then right below that description of the book, you're going to actually see the copy of the actual book right embedded onto your screen. So there's a couple different ways that you can access these books. The first thing you can do is you can download the book directly from the site. So if you click on the right, you're going to get that pop-up and you're going to see that download option. Click download and it's going to download it as a PowerPoint PDF directly onto your computer. And you'll notice that the pages flip on that so that it gives you that authentic book feel. Alternatively, you can click download ebook right below the book itself. It'll do the exact same thing. We just wanted to give you those 2 options for downloading and make it very obvious where to download. And then you also have the option, if you don't actually want to download, you just want your students to be able to read the book online, or you want to just maybe screen share it up for your students and read it on the page, you can just click through the pages here at the bottom. So you see slide 1 of 25, you just click those arrows and you're going to see those pages flip and you can read the story directly embedded into the web page. speaking of embedded, you're going to see here that if you perhaps use your own LMS system, so maybe you use Canvas, maybe you use another one, what you can do is you can embed these stories directly into your LMS program. So same area there, you're going to click that button, it's going to open up, you're going to see embed, it's going to give you an embed link. And then here is an example from Sarab's Yale Canvas. You can see she embedded this right into it as an assignment for her students. She wrote her own assignment right below there. It's just a great way to keep everything together for yourself if that's easier than having your students go to the site. So I want to give everyone a few, let's say like 20, 30 seconds, just play around with different ways you can download the books, you can access the books, just so you make sure you're comfortable with that. And you can ask us questions either in the chat or by unmuting yourself if you have them so far. And while you're taking a look at those books and getting a feel for how you can download them, the other thing I would encourage you to do is take a look at the intermediate and advanced, maybe pull up one book in novice, one book in intermediate, one book in advanced, and then you can just kind of see how the language progresses from each proficiency level. So you'll see there is a large difference in language expectations in Where's Lulu to your Joha books in the advanced level. But that is expected, and you know your students, you know which books would work best for your kids. I'll give you a few more seconds to just get in, take a look at those books, and then we'll go on to talk about the supplemental worksheets. Okay, so let's take a look at some of those additional materials that are available for you to use with each book. At each book's page, you're going to see a list of the worksheets listed right under the book, just like that picture on my screen. And under the worksheet are those can-do statements, so you know which can-do statements align with each worksheet, which should help you think about which might be the most useful to use with your students if you're trying to target specific skills. To access the worksheets, you just click on worksheet 1, worksheet 2, etc. You'll see that's a link. And when you click on that, it's going to bring you to a website called WiserMe. If you do not already have an account for WiserMe, in order to access our worksheets at this point, you'll have to create one. Something we want to be very honest about is when we started this project, WiserMe was a free resource. Unfortunately, about a year and a half ago, they started charging a $60 annual fee to use this website. This is not a fee that goes to us. This just goes to WiserMe. So if you do want to use WiserMe, you will have to see if your institution or school can help cover that cost. But because we know that not everyone can do that, we also created some alternatives to using WiserMe that will still give you access to the worksheets. One of the things we really like about WiserMe, though, is that it allows you to edit the worksheets and kind of use them how you want. So I'm going to just walk you through what that looks like and then just explain that a little bit more. So if you have that premium account, what you're going to see is after you click on the worksheet, you're going to get the worksheet's going to appear in your account, and you're going to see that button that says Use Worksheet at the bottom of the screen. If you click on Use Worksheet, it's going to bring you here where you're going to have the option to either edit your copy or assign your copy of the worksheet. So you can assign it out exactly as it is, but alternatively, you can edit it. So maybe you want to remove one of the questions, or you want to add your own question, or you want to change the language slightly and how something is written because you teach it a little bit differently. You can do that with the Edit My Copy option. So that is honestly the reason we really liked this resource, is because, like we said at the beginning, we really wanted this to be something that teachers could use how they needed to use it. So we liked that edit function. In terms of sharing these worksheets, you have a couple options. You can share it by class. So if you use Google Classroom, you can connect that directly into WiserMe. You also can create your own class lists on WiserMe. Excuse me. And then you also can get a link. So you just click get link and then share that out however you want. Put it into your Canvas, send it by email, whatever works best for you. When you share, just one very small thing, because we think it's important, we wanted to point out, is you're going to see this option for automatic feedback to students. By ensuring that this is turned on, your students will kind of get feedback as they're going through the worksheets where they've made mistakes, where they haven't. In general, we think this is a great function, but it's your choice to keep that on or off if you choose to use WiserMe. So I'm not going to have you get onto WiserMe right now because it will require you to sign up for an account, but we know WiserMe can be a little bit confusing the first time that folks are using it. So what we did is we went on and we created video tutorials that are going to help you with creating your WiserMe account, adding worksheets, sending them to students, all of those general functionality that you'll need with WiserMe. So what I would love is for everyone to just take a moment, go back to the website and just find that video tutorial button so that you know how to get back there if you need to see how to use those WiserMe worksheets. Great. So like I mentioned, we wanted to have some alternatives to WiserMe. So if you do not want to use WiserMe, you can also access some of the worksheets for the novice materials as Google Doc worksheets. And you'll see that as the bottom dropdown under novice materials. Wonderful. Thank you, Amal. So you'll see that as one of the dropdowns under novice materials. And basically you just click onto Google, it'll bring you onto Google. You can save the Google Docs into your own Google account and then edit them and send them out as needed. And if you go under that video tutorial link on the site, you'll also see that there's a video on how to best use the Google Doc worksheets and how to integrate those with your classroom. Something else we're working on, but we don't have up on the site yet, is to create PDF versions of the worksheets. So this will allow instructors to just be able to print and hand out. That's some feedback we've gotten from instructors that they would like to have access to that. So I should have said this at the beginning. When you enter the website, you're going to see that sign up for updates right up here at the top of the site. Please do sign up for updates for a few reasons. One is when we add new resources, we will email you and let you know there are new resources. But also this just helps us, as we mentioned, this is a completely free project. We're able to tell our funders, this amount of people have signed up for our website. So please do sign up if you have not already. All right, so in addition to the WiserMe and Google Doc worksheets, we also have these in-class activity slides. So these include questions that you can integrate right into your classroom presentations. So if you click on that button, supplemental activity, in-class activity slides, these are a few samples of the questions you're going to get. These are questions that go along with the stories that we thought instructors might want to stop and ask their students as they're going through. And something you'll notice is that you might think some of the questions look repetitive when you see them on the site, but that's because we wanted to offer them at different types of language proficiency levels. Again, so you can choose the ones that are right for your students. So the expectation is not that you go onto this and you use every single question that you see listed under every single book. The expectation is you choose the ones that are right for you, and then you can download them and use them as you want. So I'd love to give folks just a moment, go on, you can pick any of the novice books, but look right under that download ebook and just open up one of the supplemental activities so that you can see what those in-class activity slides actually look like. I think people know, but just to give you an example, so you go to Where is Lulu? And then right under the book, you're going to see that link right here, supplemental activity. And then you're going to see all the various slides that you have access to. Something else that we mentioned a little bit earlier is there are audio ebooks for all of the stories. So you will see these for novice, intermediate, and advanced stories. The audio ebooks are a really great option if you have students who maybe can't read all of the words on the page, but they could understand the language. So they'll be able to listen to the stories and then be able to see them being read. So where you find those, just going back to the site on any of these, really, I'm going to click on intermediate. Down at the bottom, we have audio ebooks.
Okay.
And then you're able to see those books. And if you can, just take a listen at one so you can hear how it's read by authentic readers who are going through that text. I'm not sure if I'm getting a question right now or someone's just unmuted. If you have a question, we are happy to take it. And if you have questions about how to find something I went over, please let me know. I'm happy to just show you directly on the site here. Something else you'll see about the audio ebooks is at the bottom of the page, you actually have access to just the audio. So if for some reason you don't want students to be looking at the book, but you just want to use those audio files, you can download those separately here. Suad, which form are you referring to?
The update form. The update form.
The audio books?
The update form.
Update form.
The sign up for updates.
Oh, the sign up. I'm so sorry. Right here. So click on sign up for updates. It should always be at the top of the page. And then we can actually put that in the chat for you as well. So let me do that. I'll just bring you to this page where you put in your information. Thank you for asking that. All right. We're also always thinking about different additional fun activities to add to the project. And if you have ideas, please share them with us. We can't promise we'll do all of them, but we definitely read all of the feedback. So for this year, for example, to go along with Ramadan, we created these cards that go along with the Eid book that you can have your students write notes on and share with family or friends. So these are located right with the Eid book. So the Eid book is intermediate. You go onto that book. And then you are able here to find these supplemental activities. So you'll see certain books or certain resources may have extra activities that you can use with your students. Sarab also mentioned these reader helpers. So these books, as she said, are for students who are still really working on alphabet, breaking down some of those pre-novice skills, let's call them. So they cover basic topics like introductions, names of the characters, and you'll see that they are offered as both video and book files. So if you go onto that page, again, going up to reader helpers, I'm just going to click on the first one. Take a moment to maybe just click on one of these books and you can see how the words are really broken down for students at that very basic level here. I'll give you a moment to do that. And then lastly, we really, mentioned earlier, we encourage your feedback. So where you can give us that on the site is if you go to About into User Experience, you're going to see that there is a form. You can first read about what other people liked about the materials, how they're using them, some additional ideas, but then also there's this feedback form at the bottom. So you can reach us here. You can also reach us at any time at our email here. So readlearnplayarabic@gmail.com. So if you have questions, you can email us. We'll get back to you there. Yeah. And then of course, please do sign up for those updates. That's really important. So we know who's using the site so we can follow up with you as we add our final resources this year. And that is our project. So we would love to hear what you're thinking, what excites you about the project, what questions you have, etc. So we'll take a few moments for questions.
Liz, may I? So when we go to present in person, what Liz has done is she prints out some of these books as samples for the attendees to take a look at and experience. And sometimes we do get questions about, is it possible to print these books? So I turn this question to you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you know, as Sarab talked about our setup for this book, or this project, it was very important to us that the materials were accessible to all through an online format. But we know a lot of instructors really like to have that book for their students to be able to leaf through to turn the pages on. So you can very easily, if you just use that download function, download the book as a PDF, and then you can send it to any printing service. So I've used Staples before. I just have them printed, double-sided. I generally get it bound at the top because it's a little bit easier then to make sure that it's flipping correctly. And color print, it's not that expensive. And if you get it laminated on the front cover and back cover, it's a great resource to put in your classroom. So if that's something you would really like to have, we don't provide a printed copy of the book, but you can absolutely do that on your own. Anything else? Where's the supplemental material? So the supplemental material, Iman, is on each book's individual page. Well, that's not true. It's in a few different places. So let me show you. I'm going to give you an example. So if you go to Where is Lulu, you'll see that there are, I'm sorry, everyone, I feel like my computer is a little slow today. I'm not sure why. So if you go to Where is Lulu, you'll see the description here. You're going to see the book download here, or that book flip right here. You also are going to see that embed code. Oops, there it is. The embed code right here. And then the supplemental activity slides. So those question slides that you can put into your own class presentations. They're located right under the download ebook. So you click here. This is going to open a separate page for you. And on that separate page, you're going to see all of those slides. You also will access the worksheets right below there. So here's each worksheet 1, worksheet 2, worksheet 3 for this book. So each book's individual worksheets and slides are on their page. But then if you want to access, for example, the audio ebooks, you go to the audio ebook section for each of the materials. So they're on a separate page. So if you wanted to find the Where is Lulu ebooks, you just go to Novice Audio Ebooks here and you'll find it there. Of course.
I have a question. My daughter has recently requested to learn Arabic, and I would love to teach her, which is great. And so I love these materials, and I can imagine using them myself also to brush up myself and then to help her. But it looks like the novice materials, you have to, she would have to learn the alphabet first, have a little bit more have some background before doing Where is Lulu. And so just wanted to ask, is there something with even before those novice materials? Are you developing those, or would you recommend other resources that you use? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just to speak to the resources, and then Sarab probably has additional information to share, but that is kind of the idea behind the reader helpers. You still would need, it's probably not if you have absolutely no experience with Arabic, like you might need a little bit of information before that, but this still gives you a really great breakdown I'm just going to play the beginning of this so you can see.
Yeah, I think we're not getting the audio.
Oh, you're not getting the audio. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
So this basically it's breaking up the different alphabet sounds in the word and going through them individually. So this is kind of that pre-novice if they're not ready, but they still would need a little background with alphabet in order to get here. But this is, I think, a great resource for someone who's especially just starting Arabic, and it'll break down some of the information they'll need to be able to read the novice books. But Sarab, if you have any additional to add there.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that when we first started this project, we really had in mind Arabic language instructors and students. But throughout these couple of years, we have seen a lot of interest from families who are taking this and saying, oh, I can use this with my kids as well. And we are happy to share this resource with anyone who can use it, regardless of whether they're in an institute or a family at home. I think there was also a question in the chat about writing. I'm not sure if I understand this correctly, but if you're asking, are there like writing exercises or writing drills? There are not. However, if you go to the user's experience, you will see that we've asked our teachers who've used the books, like, what ways did you use it? On what other ways can you use it? And they did have a number of suggestions. Some of them do involve writing. Our idea is that this is a resource for you to use and take it and run with it and use it for the way that it helps your students, and definitely add on to it.
And if you also have a great activity that you do with your students and you're like, oh, we did this writing activity, please let us know so we can add it onto the list here so other instructors have those ideas.
I have a question, or actually a few questions, if you don't mind.
Please.
So I had tried to use the Wiser Me, and I think it was probably over a year ago that I attempted to use them, and it was saying, I don't have the right account or something like that. So my understanding is unless you have a pro account with Wiser Me, you're not able to use the worksheets properly. And then the other question related to this is, are the Google Doc worksheets similar or the same, or adapted from the Wiser Me? If you could maybe show us how the Wiser Me worksheets work, just to see if it's even worth it to sign up and pay for it or not, to begin with. And then another thing that's kind of not related, but I noticed, I haven't looked at all the stories yet, but the ones I have looked at, the case endings are not there. Is that intentional? Yeah, it is. I thought it was, but if you could, tell us more about that.
So Rob, I'll let you answer that question about the case endings, and then I can talk about.
So yes, as far as the case ending is concerned, yes, it's intentional that they're not placed there. So before we actually, when this project was still in the thought process, I kind of informally surveyed Arabic language instructors at different institutes, and the vast majority of them do not start by focusing on the case endings and how they are pronounced in a sentence. There are institutes that do focus on that for other reasons, mainly because mainly university students, they need this information for a specific linguistic track that they might want to pursue. So we opted to create the information without case ending. However, sometimes you will see that there are short vowels are placed when they have a significant role in the pronunciation of that word.
And as for Wiser Me, what you said is correct. They, like I mentioned, they used to be completely free, and I think last July they started charging this annual fee to use Wiser Me. I believe it's only $60 a year though, so it's not a huge amount. What I would recommend, just to understand how Wiser Me works and how the worksheets work there, is watch some of these tutorial videos we made, because this will show you what you can do to add and edit worksheets. What does that look like? What does the worksheet look like for your student? How do you set up your class? What does that look like? And I think if you watch these videos, that will give you a feel for, is this something that I would actually want to use in my classroom? I feel like you had a third question in there. Now I can't.
Yeah, it was the Wiser Me and the Google Forms.
Oh.
So the other reason why we loved Wiser Me is because it allows for a variety of question types where you can have like visuals and audio and sometimes even video if possible. And the question types that Wiser Me allows for is wider than what Google Form allows for. So the Google questions, the Google Doc questions are adapted from the Wiser Me, but most of the time the number of questions are less due to the fact that Wiser Me allows for a more variety of questions.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much, everyone. And we really hope you do get on the website, you do start using these materials, and please let us know how it's going, stay in touch. You have our email on the bottom of the website or that contact form, and we are always happy to hear from everyone.
Thank you so much. Thanks for walking us through this great resource, and good to see you. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Thanks
Bye.
for attending. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.